It's time for another episode of MoState Update, the official podcast of Missouri State Athletics. Here are your hosts, Corey Riggs, and the voice of the Bears, Art Haynes.
Well, welcome to another episode of MoState Update. I'm Art Haynes along with Corey Riggs, and we'll take you through some highlights at Missouri State. Basketball Bears, Corey, and you were on the trip, went to Washington State, lost 91-78 as the Cougars shot 76% in the second half and well over 60% for the game. Just couldn't get them stopped.
No. You've seen teams get on hot streaks before, and the second half was definitely a Cougar hot streak. Didn't mean that Missouri State didn't score the basketball or stop playing defense, but the Cougars just couldn't miss and were deadly from beyond the arc. They had a ton of size and length and perimeter shooting, and it was definitely a struggle in the second half for the Bears.
All five Bears scored in double figures, the starters, that is, led by Des White again with 16 points.
And Des, I think if you go back and look, I don't know that Des had 2 or 4 points in the first half. Almost all of that was in the second half for him as he came out. And we talked about it with Coach Martin on his coaches show Inside the Den earlier this week. Des just kind of realized that maybe he wasn't going to be able to attack the rim as much, so he just started to distance out that perimeter shooting, and he was launching from NBA range and knocking them down in the second half.
Jalen Hampton with another double-double, the third of the season for him. He had 11 points and 11 rebounds. I mean, the Bears score 78 points. They shot 48% for the game. Nothing wrong offensively, but the defense was a little bit lacking.
Well, the defense was kind of back on its heels, I felt like. Coach is always the first to point out no excuses, and I agree with him on that. But it was a very tight game, tightly officiated game in the first half. Washington State does not play defense with the intensity that Missouri State does, and all of a sudden you looked up on the scoreboard, and we had 10 team fouls, and they didn't have 4. Not saying the officiating was bad, just saying that out there you don't normally see teams get down and guard like the Bears did. Bears had almost everybody with 2 fouls by the time we got to halftime, and I think that maybe softened the defense up a little bit in the second half, and it was bombs away for Wazoo after that.
Bears now 5-5, and they have 2 home games left before Christmas. Wednesday night, they host Lincoln University, and then Sunday afternoon, UC Santa Barbara.
Yep, the Gauchos and the Blue Tigers coming to town. The Gauchos, of course, the alma mater of the one and only Jim Rome.
That's right.
I can't think of an alumni for Lincoln right off the top of my head.
Well, Harold Robertson, their basketball great from back in the 70s, he still owns the record for most points by an opponent in Missouri State history, 45.
Really? I say you've talked about the fact that was quite a rivalry back in the day before the Bears made the move to D1.
Yeah, it was. Lincoln beat us 8 straight times, in fact, at one point, but Bears have won the last 6.
And that's the most important ones.
You bet. Well, men's soccer forward Jesus Barea and outfielder Alex Matthews have both been named to United Soccer Coaches Division I All-America first and third teams, respectively.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously one of the top awards just like any other sport, and everybody knows about the tear that Jesus Barea started the season on. I mean, he was scoring a brace what seemed like every night out for Missouri State, just 2 goals a night, 2 goals a night, 2 goals a night for Jesus. And, of course, he and Alex, a talented midfielder, set up Jesus on a lot of those scores, and it was their efforts and the couple of All-American seasons that led Missouri State back to the NCAA tournament again this year.
Indeed. So they will be recognized at the United Soccer Coaches All-America ceremony and reception Saturday, January 11th at the United Soccer Coaches Convention in Chicago.
Yeah, should be a good time up there. Of course, you and I both know it's January in Chicago, so that'll be chilly.
Yeah, it will.
It won't be soccer weather.
And it'll be windy.
Certain. It'll definitely be windy.
Well, Missouri State football has rolled out its season schedule and ticket package in advance of the program's first year in Conference USA. Now, not the full schedule. We don't know the Conference USA opponents yet or the dates, but we do the non-conference. And individuals interested in becoming new season ticket holders and beyond this year may do so purchase online at 2025 season tickets. They may submit a season ticket inquiry form which designates a season ticket representative to begin formulating a package that caters to the individual's needs, among other ways.
Or you can come to Great Southern Bank Arena, go up to the ticket counter and talk to somebody in person there to help you pick out your seats. That may be the most important part. And, of course, people talking about that first BCS game at Plaster Stadium against SMU, and the fact that maybe the only way that you can know for 100% certain that you're going to have a ticket to that game is if you're a season ticket holder, because they think that may be one of the highest selling tickets that we've seen in Bears football in a lot of years.
Well, it should be, and the fact that SMU made the college football playoff this year certainly adds additional value to that game.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely going to make a difference there. And on top of that, Missouri State is going to have a couple of All-Americans at the end of this season now. And one of them, it is just the perfect ending to what has been an incredible career for Missouri State punter Grant Burkett. The AP, the Associated Press All-American teams came out today. 2 Missouri State Bears made it on the honorable mention list. Tight end Lance Mason, and then, of course, punter Grant Burkett. That means Grant goes 4 times as an All-American in his career. That may be a never duplicated football event here at Missouri State. It's unheard of.
And he will leave as the all-time leader in punting average over his great career.
Yeah, no, he's been tremendous, and we know, saw on social media the other day, he said he's got to have a little back surgery. Then he's going to start getting ready for pro days and trying to have that opportunity to play at the next level for somebody. But if none of that works out, he's interested in coaching, and I think he would make somebody a very good coach. He's just a great young man.
Well, a total of 28 current and former student athletes at Missouri State received their degrees in commencement ceremonies last Friday here at Great Southern Bank Arena.
Yeah, if there was ever a time to know when to not drive around on campus, it's during graduation day. There was 2 ceremonies. 954 bachelor's degrees were given out. 7 Bears also completed postgraduate degrees. 435 master's degrees, 11 doctoral degrees, and those are things, Art, that I know you and I talk about away from the show, that there may be more of those degree opportunities coming from Missouri State down the road.
There may be more in the postgraduate area, and that'll require some action by the legislature this year.
So also coming up on the Missouri State schedule, and one of our guests later on in the show is here to talk about it, and that'll be former Missouri State softball coach Holly Hesse. But Missouri State has put out their annual list of their Athletics Hall of Fame class, and it is a monster class, Art, with a ton of folks that you and I are both very familiar with, because there are a lot of head coaches and assistant coaches who have retired really in the last just 2 or 3 years.
Well, that includes Holly Hesse from softball, Keith Gutton from baseball, John Leamy men's soccer, Rob Brewer women's soccer, all here for a long time, and all 4 will go into the Missouri State Athletics Hall of Fame the weekend of January 24th and 25th.
Then you get Holly's 2 assistants, Sue Frederick and Beth Perrine, are both going to be enshrined with Holly at that time. Longtime and Hall of Fame Missouri State pitching coach Paul Evans Lump is going to be inducted as well when Coach Gutton goes in. And then there's going to be the Don Payton Award, which is an award that you've received, Art, and in your years of service at Missouri State, is going to go to one of the biggest Bears supporters you will ever meet in Tom Strong.
Indeed. He is still on the road with football and basketball teams quite a bit, sits on the bench at basketball, and is a tremendous supporter and contributor to Missouri State.
Yeah, this year's legacy inductee is going to be Kenny Brown. He was a baseball standout for Coach Bill Rowe in the mid to late 60s. And then they're also going to recognize the field hockey teams from 1978 to 1981. So the 49th Missouri State Athletics Hall of Fame class will be a big one.
It will. So they'll be recognized at halftime of the women's basketball game that Friday night against Drake. There will also be a induction luncheon at the Old Glass Place Saturday morning at 11:30, and then the Bears play Drake as well on Saturday afternoon, and they'll be recognized at that game.
So there will be a lot going on. Of course, Missouri State Lady Bears have been on the road this week. The Lady Bears are now 7-3, and a couple of milestones, Art, in their 77-49 win at SEMO. Beth Cunningham wins her 50th game as the head coach of the Lady Bears. But how about the 1,000th win in the program's history?
Which dates back to about 1970, so you do the quick math, that's about 18 wins a year.
Yep, and that means you've had a very good program with a lot of success for the entirety of its life. It did not take very long for this program to get its legs and become a force in women's basketball in the Midwest.
Lady Bears had home wins, a couple of them before going to SEMO, and then that was an easy victory on Monday morning, a kids' day at Cape Girardeau, as they came out on fire, 4 for 4 to start the game, went on from there. Offensively, they did a great job, and defensively too.
Yeah, they outscored the Red Hawks 17-11 in the second quarter. They had their best shooting quarter of the game in the fourth, where we talked about Washington State shooting at 75-76% for a half. The Lady Bears shot almost 72% for a quarter, 10 of 14 from the field in the fourth quarter to close that one out. And they will, of course, be back in action here on Friday, December 20th. Another early game as they host Southern Miss. That's a noon tip-off here at Great Southern Bank Arena. And a couple other late additions, Art. We want to remind everybody that season tickets for Missouri State baseball is coming up now at Hammons Field. They are officially on sale today. The Bears have 28 home games on the docket for this spring under first-year head coach Joey Hawkins, and they've got some great ones. Matchups with Oklahoma State, Mizzou, Arkansas, and then a late addition to the schedule, Central Florida, all on the home schedule this year for Missouri State baseball.
Indeed. So that 28 home games, that's a lot better than last year when I think it was 17.
You were preaching to the choir, man. It felt like we were never home last spring. It was always on the road all the time. And one other late add to the headlines, we talked about the AP winners for for football and for soccer. 4 Missouri State volleyball players were just honored by the College Sports Communicators Group today for their efforts in the classroom. Maddie Bushnell, Kate Owen, Nellie Sims, and Morgan Sprague are all recognized as academic all-district players for this year. So congratulations to those 4 young ladies as well.
Indeed so. Well, coming up on our show today, we will visit with Bears basketball coach Conzo Martin, and then with soon-to-be Missouri State Hall of Famer Holly Hesse, longtime softball coach. That's all coming up on Mo Sports Update. Welcome back to Mo Sports Update. Well, our guest is Bears basketball coach Conzo Martin, back for his second tour of duty as Missouri State basketball coach, having been here successfully from 2008 to 11. So, Zoe, we've, of course, talked many times since the season began, but on this venue, welcome back to Springfield.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed being here. It's been a joy thus far.
So you've been asked this before, but how do you think you have changed both maybe as a person and as a coach since your first stint here?
I think the easiest question or easiest answer will be wisdom. You gain wisdom over time, your life experiences. My children are a lot older. My wife and I have been together, 32 years, 29 married. So we've grown together. So just a lot of fun. I've been all over the country, all over the world for that matter. And I just think wisdom and understanding what's your greatest impact as a coach. Of course you want to win games. Every coach has said it. That's understood. You want to win games. But do you want to see guys graduate and have successful lives and careers? Yes, that's what I want to do. But, and going through, they're supposed to get a degree. But what does that really mean, Coach? How can you help them impact and have a great success in that degree? But the other part is you develop them as a basketball player and as a student athlete. What are you trying to get out of them, Coach? Or do you want the guy just to come to your school and get in any major and he get a degree but he's eligible to play? Or do you want to put him in a major? It might be a little tough starting out, but it'll be greater later. So those are the things I learned over time, man, just to really impact the student athlete. And I always believed it, but how do you do that? And that was the biggest thing for me.
Is that why at times, Coach, you refer to maybe this round of coaching at Missouri State more as your ministry of basketball and instead of just coaching the game?
Yes, and it was always my ministry. I just didn't know it at the time. I was coaching. But again, you become free when you're allowed to spread your wings, and I think you spread your wings over time, and that comes with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and knowing truly your purpose. And I say my purpose because I do feel it's my ministry to be able to coach and lead and help develop young men to live great lives and to spread whatever they have all over the world, not just in the community, but all over the world. And if I can impact a guy with what I have, and that doesn't mean we'll have a great relationship, because in terms of him on the floor, it didn't pan out the way he wanted to pan out. But did you get the lessons that we were teaching? Because you never stop teaching as a coach. I mean, my role as a ministry is a coach/father, and whatever that is, I have to be there and I have to provide that consistently.
So you leave here, you go to Tennessee, and then to California, and then to Mizzou. That's pretty diverse geographically parts of the country. What did you take from all those jobs?
A lot of great life lessons, a lot of wonderful lessons. And I'll give you one. When I was in Tennessee, I'll never forget, I was walking down the train tracks, because I used to walk a lot. I would do 3 to 6 miles just walking. And I got to a point, I just said, God, allow me. I think it was Mark Batterson. He's an author, more in the spiritual realm. I read one of his books, and I think it was something that, like, I just said, I'm tired of being the lion, running from the lion. I want to become the lion chaser. And what I meant by that in terms of that book, it was just like growing up, and I would even hear my mom when she would pray, she would pray just pray just enough, make sure the bills are paid, pray my kids are healthy, all those things, your prayers were just enough. And then in my life, you're praying some of those prayers, and then you just gain the wisdom. And I just said, God, I want to become the lion chaser. So what that meant was, whatever assignment you have for me, I want that tough assignment. I want to be able to have that assignment. And I'm not speaking in terms of me being like Jesus Christ. I'm not saying that. But he had a lot of tough assignments. So I said, I want that tough assignment in life. So whether it's in coaching, life, let me be that vessel so people can see through me what it means to be able to deal with tough times, hard times, whatever it is, and have your blessing and your anointing to stand strong in all that. So, and that was my experience at Tennessee. And then, California was a phenomenal, life-changing experience for me as a coach. And because during those times, and we all can remember when Colin Kaepernick, when he was going through, when he took the knee. Well, I was at Cal Berkeley, which was 45 minutes from where he took the knee. And it was live and present, and it was booming in your face out there in California because everybody talked about it. And I was sitting there as a coach, and it's like, man, you're coaching, and it's really, whether you want to say it or not, admit it to yourself or not, it's really self-preservation. Because we all got to stand up and fight. Whether you agree with something or not, we all got to stand. If it's what's right, it's right. He stood on what he felt like was right, whether you agree with it or not. So I'm sitting there as a coach. Okay, you sit back, you're making money, you're living your life. Well, when are you going to stand up and be a part of something, where you're impacting something? You can sit there and say, well, I'm coaching these 13 guys, but are you really coaching them and leading them and helping them in life? And at that point, it's just like, man, you have to step up and be more than just this on the floor. Then I, transitioned to Mizzou, which is another great experience for me. And I think a year or two before I got that job, they had a lot of racial issues on campus.
Right.
Where a young man, he stopped eating for maybe 20, 30 days. I don't have the answers exactly there, and that was news all around the country, all around the world for that matter. So it was great to be a part of it. And then there was the George Floyd when I was at Mizzou, and there was a protest there. So a lot was going on, and I just felt like I was a part of it. Again, in terms of doing what's right, not necessarily black or white. What I feel is right. And there was black and white students that felt the same way I felt. It's just, and that's been an issue, an American issue since, I guess, 400 plus years. And it just, so for me, it was great for me to transition out for 2 years. It really was, because I felt like I was fighting so many things, coaching, not necessarily health, I'm just saying in coaching, Americanistic, COVID, George Floyd, all these things going on. And it's like, what do you want to do the next however many years you're on this earth? And I just said, man, my impact, I need to step back and figure out what I want to do. And it just, it was all great for me, man. But I was losing my soul, so to speak, in terms of it was just going. You're fighting too many things. Maybe you need to take a step back. And it was a blessing for me to take a step back.
What were you looking for when you built a coaching staff?
Guys that, first and foremost, guys that obviously have an understanding. But you've been around coaches all around the country. You can say a guy have an understanding, but they might not fit what you're trying to do. Or more importantly, they don't value the young man. Some guys, they coach the game and whatever's on the floor, and they just see bodies. Well, for me, it's a person. Now, whether he plays for me or not, I still got to try to impact his life as best I can. I got to give him whatever I can give him because, again, that's somebody's son. So I have to help him find his way. I got to max out whatever he has in him on the floor. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But also I got to help him in his life, social skills, educating him, helping him understand what it means to be a successful student athlete, what it means to become a man, how do you have to move in society. And don't let the basketball piece consume you just because it didn't work out how you wanted to work out. Because if you work extremely hard, and I say this all the time, like people talk about how Kobe Bryant worked, people talk about how hard Michael Jordan worked. Well, if you work as hard as those guys work and you don't pan out as a player, you'll still be successful because you develop a level of discipline and a work ethic. And in most cases, that bodes well in life.
So you put together this staff. A lot of these guys have been touch points for you at different spots in your career, guys with ties to Purdue, guys that you worked with at Mizzou or prior. So you get them all to come to Springfield with you. Then you have to put a team together, and you start with some guys that maybe you had your eye on at your previous stop, like a Des White.
Yes, well, for example, with the staff, and I thank you for helping me there, Corey, to assist on the staff. Guys that I felt like valued the student athlete, guys that I felt like they want to develop the student athlete, not just try to break the spirits and control them, but to really, I want to hear what you have to say, what makes you successful. So let's work together and working toward that goal. And then when you talk about the players, we worked extremely hard. It was like a 3-week period, just trying to build our roster. Now, again, the difference in today's climate, there's a lot of questions I ask, okay, well, how much money are you providing? That's as opposed to what position I'll play. There's an opportunity to start, or can I come in? Well, now there's money in play due to NIL, and I understand that. So for us, there's a balance in what you have in terms of money. Because I wasn't going to sit and make up a number to a young man to get him on our campus, all of a sudden, having he's in our program. I wasn't about to do that. So whatever we had or didn't have, we're going to work toward and build our team toward that and just do the best job we can in developing those relationships. And I think we've done a phenomenal job in developing relationships with our student athletes.
So where are you with NIL money that you have available?
We working, Art. We working. I'll give you some insight. Hey, Art, we got our boxing gloves on. We working. We got our shovels, and we digging.
Is there any chance that Santa Claus could be involved in bringing some extra NIL money down the chimney? That's definitely on the Christmas list.
Well, that's the goal. And I think, with our new athletic director, Patrick, he's done a tremendous job, and he's working the community. He's working our alumni base. And again, I don't want to look at that by any way as if it's an excuse. We got to do our job as a coaching staff. We got to find the guys fit what we're trying to do. They don't stop you from winning games and doing what you need to do to be successful. But, yeah, there's that work to do, yes.
So you have the season get rolling now. You had a trip to the Cayman Islands. You just come off a trip to Washington State. Now this week you've got 2 home games and then a short, what do you get, about a 3-day break for Christmas?
3-day break. So our guys, the 18th and then the 21st, I think, and then 3 days off. I wish the NCAA made it 3 days off, and I don't know if that happened maybe 8-9 years ago, probably less than that. I wish it was at least 5, because I think guys deserve an opportunity to go home, be with their families. You can always play these games and make these games up, but I just think the holiday season, to get away, to have a peace of mind and come back stronger is always great. It's always fun times, but so my family will go away, and we have most of our guys that will go away, and I'm happy that they will be having an opportunity to go away.
Now, is all of your family coming to Springfield? Or are you going to somewhere?
I would go to Florida. We would go to Florida. Now, for years we would always go to Chicago because it was always great to go to Chicago, downtown Chicago, and to see the Nutcracker and all that. It was great, and get a Chicago hot dog. I forgot the name of the place we go to, Harold's Chicken and all that. It was always great. But this time we'll be in Florida, 80 degrees.
Well, can't beat that.
No.
Conzo, good to visit with you, and we're looking forward to some great things from the Bears.
Thank you guys for having me. Go Bears.
Go Bears. Coach Conzo Martin, stay with us. Longtime softball coach Holly Hesse on with us next on Mo Sports Update. Well, our next guest is one of the inductees this January in the Missouri State Athletics Hall of Fame. It's going to be a coach's day, really, with 4 long-time Missouri State head coaches all being honored, along with some assistants, including 2 of hers. We're talking about softball coach Holly Hesse. Holly, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Art. Happy to be here.
You bet. So you were head coach here how long?
36 years. Loved every minute of it.
Good run. And, of course, started out on the softball field on campus, ended up at Killian.
Yes, so many things progressed. The game progressed, our facilities progressed, collegiate athletics and the environment progressed. I mean, a lot of changes in 36 years, starting with our facilities when we played right across the street here. Kind of got landlocked there, and fortunately our crowds grew, and we ran out of space. So fortunate that we had a nice working relationship with the Springfield Park Board and have a beautiful place to play now at Killian Stadium.
Well, it was an easy commute across the street when the softball field was on campus, but out at Killian now with the locker rooms and coaches' offices, did you find that had an effect on your recruiting?
Yes, absolutely. Facilities do make a difference. I wouldn't say it's the number one thing on recruits' minds, but certainly they want to have a nice place to practice and train and compete, and Killian Stadium provided that with, like you said, the locker room situations, the field itself. They're doing more updates here soon with artificial turf in the outfield, and it's a quality Division I softball facility.
Holly's being inducted along with longtime baseball coach Keith Gutton, who retired the same year here this last year. Also, John Leamy, the men's soccer coach, and Rob Brewer, the women's soccer coach. Those are 4 long-term coaches, and I know you had a good relationship with them.
I did, and so much respect for what each of them has done here for Missouri State and for the Springfield community. Rob and John, built those programs from the ground up and had tremendous success, and both of those programs are nationally competitive now, and just great respect for them. And Keith, he's a legend in whatever baseball circle you're talking about, so fortunate to share facilities with him, and so Rob Elvels with him quite a bit throughout the 36 years, and a lot of respect for what he's done for Missouri State baseball.
Go ahead.
Sorry. We talked a lot already about the length of time that you spent here. What was the plan originally when you got your starting coaching, made the move to Springfield? Did you think you were going to be here 3 years, 5 years, go back to Iowa or Nebraska at some point in time, or did you always think, I can make a go of it here and there's no reason to go anywhere else?
Well, yeah, I had big dreams, and becoming a head coach at 28 was the start of those big dreams. And fortunately, Mary Jo Wing took a chance on a young coach, and I'm so grateful for that opportunity. And I thought I'd probably be here about 6 years, get myself established. UCLA was the number 1 program in the country, winning all the championships. They never called, so I said, hey, Missouri State's the place to be for me. And just love the Springfield area and the people at Missouri State. It's been a wonderful ride for me. I wouldn't have wanted to do it anywhere else. Speaking
of UCLA, I remember going with you to Los Angeles and sitting on the roof of the press box at UCLA and broadcasting your games in the NCAA Regional in 2006.
Yes, that was a fun trip for us, wasn't it?
It was. First time I had In-N-Out burgers.
That's a good
memory.
That's a good burger too.
Right. Yeah. Especially back then, there was no bigger stage to play on than playing UCLA at UCLA, and that was just a tremendous experience. 2016, best team I had. They won 40 games that year. Samantha Fleeman, Shannon Buslett, Missy Porsche. I mean, we had a tremendous season that year.
16, yeah.
Yeah, and we just went out there and really played well, even against UCLA. I mean, Samantha Fleeman hit a home run over the center field fence that I think is still going. You hit a home run off of UCLA. That's pretty impressive. So we had a good showing out there. Is it surprising now to see the power shift and that kind of the focus of the softball world now is Oklahoma? Right, yeah, for sure. It's nice that there's a lot more parity in the game. The SEC didn't even come along in softball till 25, 30 years ago, and Missouri State's history goes back 57 years now. So there's a lot of parity in the game now, and that's good to see. With UCLA, what they're in the Big Ten now? I mean,
Yep.
That's crazy.
It is.
That is crazy to me. But it's Oklahoma. Congrats to Patty Gasso on what she's built at Oklahoma, and I have 4 wins against Patty, so that's just one of my biggest feathers in my cap.
2 of your longtime assistants, Beth Perrine and Sue Frederick, are also being inducted.
Yes, and I'm so happy that we're kind of going in as a staff, because it certainly took all 3 of us to build the program at Missouri State. It was all 3 of us, the experience, the knowledge, the camaraderie, the consistency that we gave the program. Certainly we were the ones, and our relationships built the foundation for what was to come, and couldn't have done it without them. They're just tremendous coaches and more importantly, tremendous people.
At one point, I think you had the senior staff in the country, didn't you, with all 3 of you together that long?
We did. We were the #1 most tenured staff in the NFCA for quite some time after Carl Hutchinson retired at Michigan. We held that spot for probably 4 or 5 years until Sue retired.
Say, you all kind of almost stair-stepped your way into retirement. The 3 of you didn't go out in the same year.
Right. After we won that championship in 2022, we all 3 took some time to think about, individually what we wanted to do, and then we met, and Sue said, "Well, I'm going to go out on top, and this is my retirement year." And I was like, gosh, I feel like I still want to stay here, and I just don't feel like it's time for me. And Beth was on the fence. And so I talked Beth into at least staying, and then she left the year after. And it really was a great opportunity for us to bring in new coaches who could then have the experience to step in. Casey Griffith has stepped in. She's replaced Sue 3 years ago, and gave her an opportunity to just get comfortable being here at Missouri State and, kind of hit the ground running as a head coach in her first year now.
So you're from Iowa, and she's coming from Drake, so kind of similar background.
Right, yeah. You got to love those Iowans. Sue is from Iowa, I'm from Iowa, Casey's from Iowa. You can't go wrong with Iowans.
Well, you mentioned the fact that it was important to you for you all to go in as a staff. So have you all started making any plans? Is that going to kind of turn into maybe a reunion weekend of sorts for you all?
Well, that's a good question. We've had a lot of reunions recently with my retirement. We had a big reunion party May 4th at the end of last season with lots of alums come back for that, and so that was exciting. Also was fortunate enough to go into the Springfield Sports Hall of Fame at the end of October, so I had a lot of alums here for that, and hopefully I've certainly, all 3 of us on social media have heard from a lot of alums. I even saw some Christmas ornaments made out of our faces.
Oh, my.
So.
I'd like to. Are those for sale somewhere? Can we get a website?
Yeah, I mean, when you have your own bobblehead and Christmas ornaments, mean, you've really made it then.
You're a Hall of Famer when you have a Christmas ornament and a bobblehead.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Well, Holly, thanks so much for being with us, and again, sincere congratulations on this honor.
Thanks, guys. So appreciate you having me on.
You bet. Holly Hesse should be going into the Missouri State Athletics Hall of Fame in January. Stay with us. Corey and I will be back right after this. So, the basketball Bears are back home Wednesday against Lincoln University, a 7 o'clock game. And then Sunday afternoon at 1 against UC Santa Barbara, the Gauchos. Both those games here at Great Southern Bank Arena. Lady Bears have one home game this week. That is a day game Friday starting at noon as they take on Southern Mississippi.
Yep, and my understanding, it's not necessarily an education day, so not necessarily filled with kids, but more about a travel situation for Southern Miss to get home and get their kids home in time for Christmas.
Then both teams will begin conference play right before New Year's on the road. The Bears at the Ford Center in Evansville to take on the Aces, and the Lady Bears heading to Chicago to take on UIC. Both those games will tip off at 3 p.m., and the games remain on 93.3 KWTO-FM and AM 560, and the Bears as well. So wish them both the best of luck.
Yeah, say that'll be a situation with games going at the same time. The Lady Bears will have to slide to the Jock, and they'll be available on that FM station while the Bears will stay on KWTO. And, Missouri State already has, on the men's side, one Valley game under their belt, that 3-point loss to Indiana State. So a really good opportunity to go on the road, beat Evansville, and kind of start the second half of the season with a win coming out of the holiday break.
And don't forget to come out to Big Shots Golf on Monday nights for Inside the Den with our basketball teams. We will not have a show this next week, but we will be back December 30th in 2 weeks with a new format.
Yep, no podcast or coaches shows the week of Christmas. Stay at home, enjoy the holidays with your family. That's what we're going to do. But meanwhile, after the break, when we come back for that last week of December, both the coaches shows will go from hour-length formats to 30-minute formats. We'll keep the order the same with Beth Cunningham going first, Conzo Martin going second, and we'll do all of that in the 7 o'clock hour. So Coach Cunningham's Inside the Den from 7 to 7:30, and then Inside the Den with Conzo Martin from 7:30 to 8 from Big Shots Golf the rest of the basketball season.
So they'll be starting December 30th, and we'll be back that last week of the year as well for our next edition of MoState Update. Thanks to all of you for joining us.
You've been listening to the MoState Update with Art Haynes and Corey Riggs. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Missouri State Sports Network.